Welcome, everyone, to Mizpah's Becoming a Parent series presented by the Boiling Point Podcast and Mayhem Media. Please check us out on Facebook, Rumble, and YouTube. Just search the Boiling Point Podcast or Mayhem Media. You can find our channels. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and please share these episodes out. Leave us a comment, and we will talk about it on another episode. Mizpah, this is our sixth installment of the series now, and you found out some news from the doctor. You were having a problem with your leg a couple weeks ago, or I'm not sure for how long it is. You can tell us about it, but you went to the doctors. What did you find out?
So it all started actually a couple weeks before Christmas. I was hanging up Christmas lights outside. And so I was up and down the ladder a lot. And the next day I woke up and my leg was hurting in my calf. And I didn't think much of it. I just figured, okay, I pulled a calf muscle. It happens. So, I was eating Tylenol like they were Pez. And after a couple more days, it started hurting up in my inner thigh. And I thought, well, I've been favoring that leg because my calf's hurting. So I just kind of chalked it up to, pulled muscles.
Yeah.
That went on for about a week and a half. And then it started swelling up a little bit and getting puffy, and it hurt a lot. So that was the point where I'm like, all right, I need to go to the doctor because this is more than just a pulled muscle. When I got to the doctor, I explained to them that there is a family history of it's called factor V Leiden, which it affects it's a genetic thing that affects a certain protein in your blood that deals with clotting and coagulation and stuff, I guess. I don't know a lot of the details yet, but people who have factor V Leiden their body doesn't create this protein that prevents clotting naturally. And so they tested me for that. Ironically, I'm still waiting for the results on that, and that's been a few weeks. The lab messed up the samples, and then the blood samples they collected are no longer viable. But the results they were able to get back were enough to confirm that yes, I have a massive blood clot in my leg. And they immediately put me on blood thinners. And now we just have to determine if I have this condition or not. And given everything that I have going on with it, most likely I do. If I don't, that's going to be a whole other conversation. Because then it's a question of, well, how did this happen? But anytime you have, bad news in regards to your own health, it sucks.
Yeah.
But now that, I might potentially have something that, I could have passed down to my daughter, that kind of hit a different note. That was something like, oh man, and then I kind of fell down the rabbit hole a little bit. It was like, well, what else could I have passed on to her? Could she end up inheriting my ADD?
Yeah.
Could she end up inheriting, my, occasional anxiety? Could she be, so it's kind of, like I said, I kind of fell down the rabbit hole with that a little bit. And did a lot of soul searching and praying, and
That's interesting. That just that little bit of bad news, sent you down the rabbit hole like that. in regards to your daughter? Like what could I have passed on to her? That's interesting that that you experienced that it took you to that direction so quickly.
Well, I wouldn't say it was a quick progression. It
Okay.
happened in the course of a couple of days.
I mean, well, still, even a couple of days though, just to get some bad health news about yourself and to meet, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I can only imagine because I don't have kids of my own, lots of nieces and nephews, but not kids of my own. So I can't imagine feel how you felt when you're getting the bad medical news, but thinking about your daughter and how it affects her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, it was like with me, it was kind of like, all right, well, that sucks. But what's the plan for taking care of it?
Yeah. Yeah. So
And
let's talk about that for a second because blood clots are no joke. That's nothing to mess around with there. So
yeah,
are you getting the right, they got you on treatment and the right treatment and stuff?
so right now they just have me on blood thinners, and how this all came about, it was a mess. Just it was a hot mess from the start. So they, my doctor said immediately he wanted to treat it like it was a blood clot until we knew that it wasn't. So he sent me for an ultrasound on my leg, um, and then I got that scheduled, and that was immediate. Like I left my doctor's office and went there.
And did you get the results of that?
So they actually had me go back out into the waiting room and wait for the doctor to review those results.
Oh,
And then they were going to call me back and let me know. And most of the time when you have tests like that, it's all right, we'll call you in a day or two.
yeah.
And then you're calling them going, well, what were the results?
Yeah.
This was so they sent me back out to the waiting room. I was like, oh, this is different.
Yeah.
So already at that point, I'm kind of like, well, this probably isn't going to be good news.
Yeah.
And then the doctor actually called out to the front desk to talk to me on the phone. And the front desk clerk was clueless
Yeah.
because,
As they often are.
this isn't normal process. So he
Well,
has no idea what's going on.
yeah.
So I get on the phone with the doctor that's there reviewing my ultrasound results, and he's asking for my family doctor. I'm like, no, I'm the patient.
Yeah.
So I ended up giving the phone back to the front desk clerk. He hangs up the phone, after telling the doctor, I have no idea what's going on. Nobody told me anything.
Lovely.
And then
I
he
think I just
proceeds.
would have been like, no, this is the patient, but you can give me the results.
He's like, well, no, your doctor wants me to talk to him first. Oh, okay. So then the front desk person tells me not to go anywhere. And I get a phone call from my doctor 5 minutes later. Now, both of these people have my cell phone,
Yeah.
but they called this desk clerk number instead. But whatever. Not everybody is bright as a light bulb.
Yeah.
And all the information I got was, yep, it's definitely a blood clot. We're going to put you on blood thinners, or I'm sorry, it's a very significant blood clot, were his exact words.
Lovely.
And we're going to put you on blood thinners. Okay. So how big is it? Where does it start? I had all these questions right away. Where does it start? Where does it end? How blocked are the arteries or the vein? Is it an artery or a vein that it's in? What is
Yeah.
it? Am I gonna have a follow-up appointment with you to find out
Sure.
if thinners are working.
Surgery or yeah, what's happening here?
And just take this clot out. Like, what are we doing here? And he told me that, normally this is just a situation where they put you on blood thinners. They will dissolve the clot on their own.
Yeah.
And he had no interest in doing any kind of follow-up.
Oh, lovely.
Well, that didn't sit well with me.
I'd imagine not.
So, I went home and I processed all the information, all the lack of information that I was given, and kind of collected my thoughts a little bit. And then I talked to my doctor a couple days later, find out if the blood results came in for the labs that he had sent out. And then I proceeded to tell him that I wanted a referral to a vascular doctor who would specifically handle these clots.
Yeah.
He also recommended sending me to a hematologist.
Yeah.
Considering it's very likely that I have this genetic predisposition or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Genetic. I guess it's technically a genetic mutation.
Okay.
But it's hereditary. So somewhere along the family line, someone else had it.
Yeah.
And then that was when the doctor had told me that I would, if I test positive for this, I most likely would want to get my daughter tested, when she's a little bit older to see if she has it.
Yeah.
So that we can proactively make sure she doesn't go through what I'm going through.
Yeah.
So it's been a mess up to this point.
Yeah.
And I think because of him indicating that I should have my daughter tested, that was kind of what led me down the rabbit hole.
Gotcha. I understand. Yeah. Yeah, because you don't know how bad it is yourself, I guess, yet, because you haven't gotten any information really.
I mean, I know it's pretty bad. Like, it's not just like oh yeah, you kind of have a blood clot there. No,
Yeah.
this is, holy crap, you have a blood clot.
Yeah.
Like when the doctor's impressed at the size of the clot and tries to explain it to you, the size to you in medical terms.
Yeah.
And uses words like, impressive.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's no good.
Very
Are your
substantial.
is your life in danger at the moment?
Technically, yes, but not really.
So there's, I mean, if like with everything, there's a chance that it could move and start traveling, but it's not likely because of the blood thinners or just because of.
So with blood clots.
Yeah, remember, I'm not a doctor, everybody. I do not have an MD after my name. I'm not a doctor, though I play one on television.
With blood clots, there's always a chance of a piece detaching off.
Yeah.
And it floats through your system and would make its way to your heart, and well, that'd be the end of you.
Well, yeah.
Most likely.
Yeah.
That's not always the case because it can make its way into your lungs, and then you would have
a pulmonary embolism.
Correct.
Yeah. If it goes to your brain, it's a stroke.
So there's those are possibilities, but not very likely. Now the blood thinners, they're going to soften this clot up and then slowly dissolve it.
Yeah.
Over time.
So I get
that's something that has to be over time because you don't want it to be dissolving into chunks either.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so there's the risk of the chunks breaking off and creating. And a little medical knowledge for everybody. When you have a blood clot that travels to your lungs, it's called an embolism. When it travels to your heart, it's called an infarction. And when it travels to your brain, it's called a stroke. So not only that's a risk that you're dealing with, but also I guess the clot could like stop blood flow in your leg if you weren't on the blood thinners, or if the blood thinners weren't working or whatever. It could cut off circulation in your leg.
which would be very painful and not fun to resolve.
Yeah, which is the equivalent. I believe it's still called an infarction when it happens with muscle. It's not just the heart. It's called an infarction anytime it happens with muscle. You basically can have a heart attack in your leg because of a blood clot.
Yeah, and there'd be surgery involved. It would have to be quick too.
Yeah. So, well, let's all pray for that not to happen. But yeah, being a new parent now. So, what is that? Are you? I don't want to get too without getting too personal. Are you trying to make plans or something in case you face a worst case scenario? Is that what you're?
So it's something that's crossed my mind. I mean, my wife knows what my intentions would be for things.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny. I've kind of intentionally been avoiding having that conversation
Yeah.
just because I kind of feel like it, and I know it's kind of stupid, but it's almost like I feel like that would jinx me a little bit.
I can understand. I can understand that. I'm happy to be the first one to bring it up with you. That's what I do best on the
But yeah,
podcast.
and actually, this was a conversation that me and my wife had a while back, just randomly.
Yeah.
And I was letting her know like what if something were to ever happen to me, what I would want her to do.
Yeah.
Now, do I have like a will or anything? No,
Yeah.
but that's something that we've discussed doing together in the very near future.
Yeah. I think kids is probably, if you haven't done one before, kids, usually kids is the factor that'll push you to make sure you have one. So that's not surprising. Um, well, I volunteer to take care of Sammy if you need anybody. Um, of course, I'm sure you have 500 more people that all also offering the same thing. So, but so I hope you're going to continue to do well. We're going to continue to do this series for the foreseeable future. At the moment, of course, as long as Mizpah stays healthy. So everybody keep Mizpah in your prayers, and that hopefully this blood clot with the blood thinners will just take care of it, and then he doesn't have to worry about that. For now. This is something you're gonna have to deal with like forever now?
So, I mean, if I have this factor 5 leading, then it's something that I will always have.
Okay.
But it's there's people who you can get this and never develop a blood clot ever in your life.
So it's manageable.
Yeah, it is.
All right. It's just because you didn't know you
have to be on blood thinners my whole life. But there's also a chance they may, if I don't develop one in X number of time frame, I could go off of them.
Yeah. So the risk right now was that you didn't know you had this disease until just recently, until you got a blood clot.
Yeah.
So that's where the risk is, because you didn't know about it ahead of time. Now that you know about it, as long as the clot that you have is not dangerous, then it's completely manageable and your health is not at risk.
Say that again.
Okay. I'm trying to separate the fact that you just said that it's a manageable disease. It's something that you can manage. So the difference between ordinarily and right now is that you didn't know that you had it, and therefore have a potential large blood clot in your leg. That's where the risk is. But
yeah, the risk isn't from the disease. The risk is from what it causes.
yeah, I didn't mean I meant, but like what I'm saying is that after, let's say the blood thinners work, everything works out with the clot and everything's fine. Now that you know about it and you can manage it, it's far less likely that you'll get another one.
Well, actually, now because I've developed one, I'm more likely than normal to have them.
If you have this disease.
Correct.
Yes, but you can, like as we just talked about, it's manageable so that you can do things so that you do not. Not saying that you can never get one again, just that it's manageable so that the likelihood of you getting one is reduced drastically.
Yeah, like with being on a blood thinner, that would obviously reduce the chance of developing a significant blood clot. And it's also something that, they can do an occasional like ultrasound on my legs
Okay.
to check them and stuff that way too.
Yeah. So
So,
now, so the
and
difference. Yeah, so the difference is that this time, because you didn't know you had it and therefore weren't managing it, the blood clot that you have right now is dangerous, but the likelihood of you getting it again now that you know about the disease is far less likely.
yeah, to the chances of it developing again to the level that it is right now is a
Yeah.
lot less likely because I am aware of it.
Okay. Yes, that's what I was trying to get to there now, because you're in a dangerous situation because you didn't know that you had this, but
Yeah,
now
I
that you
know.
know, yeah, now that you know, once you get past the current situation, then it's more manageable and you don't have to worry as much as you do right this second.
Yeah, in fact, it was the clot's large enough that I had the doctor that specializes in looking at these ultrasounds and figuring out if there's a clot or not said to me, I have no idea how in the hell you didn't develop any symptoms at all indicating that you've had this going on prior
Yeah.
till today.
Yeah. Wow.
Like
Yeah. But
he,
it's
he
also
was shocked.
yeah, but it's also not so dangerous that they rushed you right in for emergency surgery.
Correct.
I mean, it's not like a complete clot. It's not like blood circulation is cut off and therefore they need to
No,
do something
I
right
still have
now.
circulation.
Yeah, okay.
It's definitely limited, but
Yeah.
there is circulation there.
Yeah, okay. Well, then hopefully we will pray for you to hopefully not have to have surgery and that the blood thinners work and the blood clot just breaks up and dissolves and that you don't have, this is not a situation that you have to deal with again. I'm
Yeah,
sure it's scary.
I
I'm sure it's more scary now being that you're a father than it would have been
had,
6 months ago. Or, well, I guess not 6 months ago, a year ago.
had this been a year ago, I'd been like, all right, well, that sucks. What do we do
I mean,
about it?
even though you're married to the breeze, but, you know, leaving a spouse is one thing, leaving a newborn baby is something different.
And then knowing that there's a chance that, you could have passed something on to that newborn that could potentially cause her harm
Yeah.
and, cause her to have to deal with this. Um, that definitely paints things into a different picture as well.
Yeah. But it's
Yeah,
not something you did. It's like you said, it's genetic. It's not something that you did or caused. It's just something that happened. And, I'm a guy that likes to try and look for the lessons or look for the silver lining or, try and find the good news of a bad news situation. And, maybe the good news is because you found this out, now you can manage it. And even if your daughter does have it, she'll know much earlier than you did and be
yes.
able to manage it also.
Yeah.
Because it seems like this isn't something that people could potentially have, and they don't know they have it until it's
Oh,
something
absolutely.
serious.
I mean, well, look at me. I'm a prime example of
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I mean, you're. I mean, if they were that impressed with the size of the clot, then you were probably not very far off from an infarction, in your
Total,
leg. So
total blockage.
yeah, yeah. So, but
Yeah,
at least
I don't know the details of how much flow there is or anything, but
yeah.
that's
Well,
something that I'm going to be finding out.
yeah. Well, the only thing you know for sure is that it's not bad enough that you need to be rushed in for emergency surgery, and but it's bad enough that it's something that you need to be aware of and be managing and deal with.
To be honest with you, I almost think I would rather them go in and take it out.
Yeah, but surgery is a risky thing. Surgery is a risky thing, even for everyday, routine procedures. You know what I mean? Going under the knife, going under the gas, that's still a risky thing. And being that we know each other personally and are good friends, I also think that surgery is not in your best interest either, as your doctor on television. I don't think it's in your best interest to get surgery either. I think if it can be managed without that, I think that's what the route you should go. Being laid up for a couple of weeks or months, I don't think is in your best interest.
Well, it would actually I looked into it just because I was curious as to what I could potentially be looking at for later down the road if the blood thinners aren't doing their job.
Yeah.
Now it's like 2 days and you're back to doing what you do.
Yeah, that's what they tell you. They tell you 2 days, and then a week later you're still hurting. So just remember that even if it's 2 days. Oh, 2 days. Yeah, 2 days means you don't have to be in the hospital anymore. The likelihood of infection is decreased low enough that they can just that they can kick you out of the hospital. Doesn't mean that you're not going to have side effects or pain or stuff like that.
It's an outpatient procedure.
Oh, is it? That's crazy. That's crazy where we're at. And isn't it though with medical science? Isn't that crazy? I still think surgery is not in your best interest, so I hope it can be managed.
Yeah,
I hope.
Try to avoid that as much as you can.
Yes, I would like you to avoid surgery, but of course I want whatever is in your best interests to be done, so that you can obviously stick around. And I'm gonna be selfish and not just for your daughter, of course for your daughter, but I like that you're a contributor to my podcasts and the work that I do and an integral part of it, and I wouldn't want to lose you either. And I'm sure your wife also wouldn't lose you, even though she complains about you all the time. No, that's not true at all. The Breeze would never complain. Her hair would be on fire. She wouldn't complain at all. So
you're not wrong.
Yeah. She's one you got to watch because she doesn't complain. Yeah, she doesn't complain.
And, so, but yeah, like, I just wanted to bring that out and, let you know that and share because it's something I ever planned on having to think about or.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it was definitely, and, here I am sitting with a very substantial blood clot in my leg.
Yeah.
And my first real thought about it was, oh crap, this is something I could have shared with my daughter.
Yeah.
Like, she might one day be sitting in this situation.
Yeah.
And,
but again, a lot less likely now that you know about it and are aware of it. See, I think that's you know me, man. I'm always someone that tries to find the good in whatever's happening.
And I eventually realized that, but at that moment, I did not realize.
Yeah, I can only imagine where that took you initially. Yeah, I can only, and I imagine that you still think about it sometimes too, even though you're kind of moving past it. You probably still think about it sometimes. So, and that's got to be just something I imagine that you work on, that you just think about it less and less. Because just harping on it and thinking about it's not going to help you either. It's not going to change anything. So it just makes you crazy.
Well, now, like I said, now that I've had time to reflect and realize that, it, in a way, it's a good thing that I'm going through what I'm going through.
Exactly. Yeah.
It can prevent her from having to.
Exactly. Yeah, and I was very happy to be your 20th or 25th thought, like, oh hey, we should do a podcast episode. This should be part of the series too. We should talk about it on the series too. So I'm happy that I'm on the list somewhere, in the 20s or 30s or 40s, wherever it is. I'm just glad to be on the list. It can be last for all I care. So I think it's good to share with everybody. Leave us a comment, leave us a question or a comment for Mizpah or for myself. This series is about Mizpah, though, not myself. Please share it out. If you enjoy these, please share it out. Please share out episodes. That's what we need most. We need people to share out episodes so that we can continue to grow the show and make it bigger. So please share it out. Rumble, YouTube, we're on Facebook. All you have to do is search the Boiling Point Podcast. YouTube actually gave us our own handles now. So youtube.com/at the Boiling Point Podcast is our YouTube. Rumble is rumble.com/c/the Boiling Point Podcast. All of these are in lowercase. And facebook.com/the Boiling Point Podcast. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and share some stuff out. If you want to support more than that, visit the storefront, bonfire.com/store/the Boiling Point Podcast. Pick up some apparel if you would like to support us more than that.
Thank you for the mugs. I promise you'll be getting a picture of them soon.
Yes, very good. I bought Mizpah and the Breeze the new coffee mugs that are available on the storefront. They're like travel mugs, and so look for pictures of those. They're probably likely up already from when we're airing this episode. But check out the storefront. New items, new designs are up pretty regularly throughout the year, so check back often, grab something, support us. For Mizpah, this is his series, Becoming a Father. I am your host, JD, and that's the end.
Good night.